Can you see my slide in full screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, nice. So hello everyone, my name is Paul Haering. I am project manager at Steinbeis-Europa-Zentrum in Karlsruhe, Germany. And today my presentation will be about innovation management and how innovation management can serve as catalyst for organization, companies and higher research institutions. So this is my table of index for today. So first I want to define what is innovation and why organizations should innovate. In a second step, we will define innovation management and we'll present to you the 5 main dimensions of innovation. And then we will see how to quick start an innovation process, how to define an innovation strategy, how to develop an innovation roadmap. And in the end, I will recall the main step of an innovation process and finish by presenting you some support services in the daily region that will help you in your innovation process, basically. So let's start. So what is innovation? So I think we should differentiate invention and innovation. So invention is the creation of a new idea, a new process, while innovation is this implementation of this new idea, discovery, inventation into some applicable and marketable. So when we speak about innovation, we have this commercial idea in mind, or we should have this commercial idea in mind, or this wish to bring the invention to an end user, to a customer. So in the literature, we will find a lot of information about what is innovation, what are the different categories of innovation. Today, I will present you 4 mains for me. So we can divide innovation in 4 categories. The first one is product innovation. I think it's a category that most of you understand the most. So it's about an improved product or services. And usually it's driven by some technical progress, or it could also be triggered by some new customer needs that are wishing to have a new product, a more efficient product. So we have a lot of examples of product innovation around you. So maybe the most important one of the last decade was the smartphone that now became some, let's say, generic consumer goods across the world. The second category of innovation is process innovation. So it's all new improved production process and distribution channels that could help you to manufacture some goods or distribute your goods to your end customers. So one of the most iconic example of process innovation is the new manufacturing process, which was invented by Ford at the beginning of the 20th centuries. And an example of today's life would be a new digitalized and human-centered production process. Maybe some of you have heard of this new concept of Industry 4.0, which should bring together machines and humans. A third category of innovation is so-called organizational innovation. So it's all methods, new tools that helps you to have a better working environment, help you to better share knowledge between employees. It could also be a new organizational structure within an organization that enables better knowledge sharing, or all new processes that helps to shape a new innovation culture within an organization. Fourth category is marketing innovation. So it's the way by which products or services are brought to the end users. So this could refer to sell or after-sale activities that will help you to have a better relationship with your customers, to have a better customer retention in general. And an example for such an innovation could be a new customer relationship platform that will help you to ease your maintenance process and also to connect and contact your customers to be aware of the new needs and also to to be aware of their maintenance need if something gets broken. So then arise also the main question, maybe that or should be also be asked at the beginning of my presentation, is the question, why innovate? Why is the statu quo not enough? Why should we go in this direction? So here I try to picture an organization in the middle of the slide. So it's this bubble of the circle. And then you have this triangle that shows the boundaries or the external factors that have an impact on this organization. So I selected 3 examples, globalization, knowledge explosion, or information technology, but I think you can think of other effects, external effects or factors that could have an effect on your organization. Some competitors that put some pressure on your organization because they developed a new product, new technologies that enable a competitor to develop a product which is much more efficient than your ones. So innovation is basically trying to adapt constantly to the changes and also to respond to the most important need of your organization. So it could be external needs from your customers, but also some internal needs from some employees that are wishing that the organization structure evolves to better fit their needs. And also trying to explain to you why innovation is maybe better than just improving an existing solution. Here you have a pictures that is showing you the development curve of 2 innovations. So on the left, you have in cyan or in gray, green, blue, an innovation that is close to its market or to its maturity, to its full maturity. So you see that if you invest more R&D expenses to further push forward this innovation, you will have a limited outcome. Whereas if you maybe get a step back and invest heavily in a new product, in a new innovation, you see that the efficiency and the performance of this new innovation in the middle to long term is much greater than the potential of the current existing technology. So just wanting to show you with this graph that innovation can lead you in the mid to long term to higher value for your organization. And innovation helps companies, organizations to stay alive, to better respond to external and internal needs, and sometimes when speaking about company, to perform better against competitors and have a unique selling point that could help them in the long term to stay at the top. So now I will change a bit the topic. I will speak about innovation management and explain what are the main dimensions of innovation management. So I just want to point out here that you will find a lot of definition of innovation management in the books, in the literature. So maybe you might not agree with me. Maybe you might think that there are other dimensions to be considered here. I think you are fully right. This is just one basic concept of innovation management that we will present to you today. Definition of innovation management is actually the administration and controlling of innovation processes and activities. So it's a method or a concept that provides tools to have a common understanding of processes, of innovation processes and goal, and helps you to implement innovation activities. And a well-known concept of the Kearney's House of Innovation consists of 5 innovation dimensions. So you have first the innovation strategy, then you have innovation organizational culture, then you have innovation lifecycle management, enabling factors, and then you have innovation results. So all these dimensions are depicted in this pyramid here. So you can see the innovation strategy at the top, the enabling factors representing the base or the ground of your innovation pyramid, and then you have the innovation results that revolve around your pyramid. So now I want to explain you in more depth what are these main dimensions and what they represent. So first, at the top of the pyramid, we have the strategy. So I think every organization that wants to implement some innovation processes, activity, needs to first define a strategy. It's the long-term goal objective of your organization, and this will help you shape all other activities that you want to implement. What is also important, an important dimension of innovation is organization and culture. So your organization, the way you are working with your employees, with your colleagues, should also, you should have a culture of innovation, meaning your organization should be structured in a way that innovation and information and knowledge sharing is facilitated. An important aspect is also life cycle management, meaning that if you implement an innovation process, you also need to control or have a day-to-day monitoring of this innovation process to ensure that the goals defined at the beginning are reached, and you need to define some milestone deliverables that will help you implement your innovation measure and control them. And then you have also some called enabling factors. So meaning that if I am a company specialized in software and I want to develop or distribute some software to my clients, I need some skilled employees. I need employees that will be able to push my existing products to another level. I need employees that could lead R&D activities. I need employees that know how to protect my intellectual property, etc., etc. So you need actually the knowledge to foster your innovation process. And then in the end, it's a bit the bottom of the pyramid, you have the outcomes. So you should also, when you define your strategy at the beginning, also know what are the results you want to attain in the end. So you need to define some measurable outcomes, and you also need to translate them into value for your organization. So it could be a monetary value, it could be some higher income, higher sales, but it could also be some external factors, or let's say some other gains that are not related only to money, but just bring a nicer working environment to your organization. So now I will just explain you briefly in a few slides how you could quick start your innovation process in your organization. So speaking about innovation strategy. So let's assume tomorrow you want to quick start an innovation process in your company. So what should you ask to your employees, or what should you ask yourself? So I think the most important question might be, why do I do it? What is the motivation for innovation? Is it an internal need, or is it something that was communicated by some customers or key clients of my organization? Then the second point to be addressed is, where do I want to go? So what is my vision, long-term vision, and my mission? We'll get back to this concept a bit later. And you should also know what are the partners that you will need to achieve your innovation process. And you will also need to have a process implemented. So you will have to define some milestones, some deliverables. You will have to regularly evaluate your innovation process. And I think the most important step when you start, or one of the most important steps when you start, is maybe to define your vision and mission. So here you have an example at the bottom of the slide of a vision and the mission of a big industrial company, Unilever. And maybe just coming back to the main concept. So vision actually is your long-term goal. The long-term goal, for instance, for Unilever is to make sustainable living commonplace. And then you have the mission. So the mission explains a bit the how you want to reach these objectives. What are the day-to-day activities we will carry out to reach them? And here Unilever sets some goals, and they want to meet everyday needs for nutrition, hygiene, and personal care with brands. So I think every organization that wants to set a long-term vision need first to answer this type of questions. And usually when you go on some web pages, you already see these messages on the web page, on the front page. Another important step when you define the vision and this mission is to derive an innovation roadmap. So basically an innovation roadmap is to break down all these objectives in smaller steps to be able to better manage and control them. And you need then to define some activities, some milestones. You need actually to define the pathway you will use to get to this long-term objectives. And an important aspect of an innovation roadmap is first to draft it, and also to communicate and spread the content of this innovation roadmap to all employees or to all stakeholders that will contribute to implement this innovation process. So I will now present in more depth how this of this road mapping and activity could look like in your organization. So just as a reminder, first define a strategy with a vision and mission, and then we come to the development of the roadmap. So first, in the development of roadmap, an important thing is the orientation phase. So you need to review your vision and mission statement, especially if those were developed a long time ago. And then you need to define which areas I want to cover, because innovation is really broad. We saw at the beginning that there are different innovation areas. And another aspect also to consider is you need to specify which planning period you want to cover. Is it something short-term or long-term? And then the important aspect, once you review your vision and mission statement and answer the two questions below, is to start the analysis phase. And this is quite important because it will help you understand what are the external factors that will have an impact on your organization. One easy tool that could help you answering this question is a PES analysis. So the PES analysis is a tool that helps you to better understand all macro environmental influences on your organization. So it's maybe many partners here know what it's about, but just a short presentation. So you have 6 areas of interest, and you try to understand what could have an impact on my innovation. Let's take an example. For instance, if my business is about developing electric vehicles, maybe you have to take a look at the regulation framework. Maybe the regulation framework may have a huge impact on my business in the coming years, depending if governments will put some subsidies in place or not. Then I also have to take a look at the social effects. So what is the public acceptance of electric vehicles in the general public? So is it something that or is it something that has a lot of public acceptance, or do I need to raise awareness of the benefits of these electric vehicles to support my business model? And so once you carry out such an analysis, you have a better understanding really of what could impact your innovation. Okay, then let's go to the next step. The next step is actually about having a shorter list of which innovation areas I want to cover. Because most of the time when you do the first 2 steps, you will have a long list on innovation area you want to address. But the problem is you have limited time and limited resources. So the best is to see what are the strengths and weaknesses of your company and to align these with the external factors analysis you did before. And best way to do this is to do a SWOT analysis, where you just compare actually the strengths and weaknesses of your organization and compare it to the external factors based on the PES analysis. And then you will see actually what are the high areas of innovation or the areas of innovation which may lead to the highest profit or to the highest value for my organization. So it might take some time. This is something that all this innovation world mapping may take a few days, a few weeks, but I think it's important to invest some time at the beginning to have a consistent results in the end. And in the end, actually, what you will have to do once you define your areas of innovation or most important areas of innovation is to put all this information in a roadmap. So a roadmap is basically a document where you will find a Gantt chart, where you also define some indicators that will explain how indicators that will translate your quantitative result into some qualitative ones. And roadmaps that will be shared with your main customers, and they or main customer, meaning you could be your employee or your external stakeholders that will serve as a common document to kickstart and to control this innovation process. Mm-hmm. So I know what you will do. We just recall the main step of innovation process. So very quickly. So first step is ideation and strategy. So you need to gather ideas and then translate these ideas into an innovation strategy. So you need to define a vision and a mission. What you then need to do is to analyze the external factors that may have an impact on your innovation activity or process, and see where are your strengths and weaknesses, or maybe also see what are the most important short-term innovation area I want to cover, I want to address. So you have to align your innovation activities with your goals and strategies. Once you selected your innovation area you want to cover, you have to quick draft or you have to draft a document, a roadmap, and you have to specify there which activity you want to carry out, which activity you want to reach and when, put some milestones, and also control all these activities on a regular basis. And once this is finished, actually it's a nice part, you can then start your innovation process. You can implement your innovation process. So depending on the projects you want to implement, this could mean first searching for partners, meaning if you want to develop a new product and you need to have a pilot with partners, and maybe you need to find first a partners. Then you should maybe also look for funding opportunities. So meaning you have to maybe write some proposal to get more EU funding, national funding. Once the project then is implemented, you also have to do some promotion, some marketing to get to your end customers. You will also have to check on a regular basis that the resources are invested in a right way, etc. And an important aspect also of an innovation project, which is also an important aspect of the IPR project, is the protection of intellectual property. Because sometimes we will also see that some assets, some core assets of your innovation projects needs to be protected to ensure that no one will steal your innovation, and that you could retain all this innovation as a core foreground of your company. So this was a quick, let's say, presentation of what's innovation management, and what is an innovation process. I would like to end my presentation by presenting you some services of the Danube region that could be of interest to you. So you should know that there are some digital innovation hubs implemented in several Danube countries that can help you in planning and implementing your innovation, especially when you have an innovation activity with a focus on digitalization. So here are some examples of some hubs, but I'm sure you can find way more by using the internet. Also wanting to highlight a big achievement of the Knowing IPR project is the Knowing Hub. So it's a web portal that helps you to do some patent and literature search. So this is really helpful if you want to file a patent, protect your IP, and you can also use the Knowing Hub support services. Actually, I think what we are doing right now is also part of the support services. So just bringing you innovation and IPR management and protection a bit to your desks and to your offices, a bit closer to your desk and your offices. Also wanted to highlight that in all Danube country, you will find so-called Danube transfer centers. So there are some transfer centers that support knowledge transfer between academia and the industry. So very important also if you are a high research organization and want to find maybe a partner from industry that would like to kickstart a project with you. And they're also helping you if they want to grow in Europe or internationally. So, last but not least, I also want to highlight that many partners around the table are part of the Enterprise Europe Network. So it's one of the biggest European network on innovation. And this network provides a lot of services to organizations. So if you are looking for partners, if you need some advices regarding innovation programs, I really advise you to either ask me or other partners, and I think we can redirect you towards a national contact points that will really help you to use the EEN services. So this was all from my side. So you also find my contact information here on the last slide. Feel free to send me your questions, comments, and we'll be happy also to answer your question if you have some. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So yeah, the floor is open to the discussion, and I see Wana is having a question. So Wana, please.
Hi, Paul. I was wondering what is your personal regarding the link between tech transfer centers, tech transfer offices, and innovation management. For instance, when you talked about those 5 dimensions of innovation, where would you include the TTO office? In the organizational culture, in the enabling factors? What is your opinion? Because personally, I would include them in the enabling factors, but I'm not an expert in innovation, so this is my question.
Yeah, you mean where I would include the technology transfer offices in this, this graphic?
Yeah, where would you include them if you were to point them in one of these 5?
I think it's depending a bit on the services and on the competency of the technology transfer services, because I mean, some can really help you. Or I see always technology transfer offices as support services for innovation. So meaning they could help you define, if I am a customer and I want to implement an innovation process in-house, technology transfer offices could help me to define a strategy. They could tell me maybe it's better if you protect your innovation, it's better if you cooperate with a company, but they could also give me some other advices. They could also tell me maybe your organization is maybe not the best. You maybe need to create another organization that will help you to better protect your assets or to grow and to scale up much faster. But I think it's really depending on how you see them and what are the services technology transfer offices usually provides to customers.
So in terms of role, actually you see the TTOs as a support organization, not as active players in the innovation chain.
They are active players. I think, as Mr. Kos said in his first presentation, you need really this link between excellent researchers and industry and society. So for me, they are a key link of this innovation chain. But I never really thought about placing them or in this 5-dimension innovation diagram. They have a key role, but I think this innovation dimension that you see on these slides is most, or it's most related to innovation management in general. And I think that the role that technology transfer officers can play is not easy to define as such. Can be 1 or A, or can be C and D. It's
okay.
I see that Mr. Kor is in the audience, and maybe he can also answer these questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. The shortest answer was, as Paul said already, it's depending on the TTO office, and I would add and on their resources and competences. But I want to stress one point. From my experience, our researchers, if you look in the university, they are not innovation driven, they are research driven. Therefore, I never had the feeling that I'm doing innovation management as a university TTO. Although if I now, just after the question, I try to think of, sometimes I made mediation, sometimes I made competence, a continuous improvement process workshop and these things, but within the university, you never use the word innovation. And I know some people from the industry would say, oh, universities don't do innovation. Yeah. Therefore, I think it's not applicable for the average TTO in the university. But of course, it's good for a TTO office of a university to know about it and to have a toolbox for that. But yeah, university is still research driven, and it's the research question and not the innovation question, at least at BOKO and the universities in Austria, and I know. Maybe we can discuss that.
Maybe, sorry if I can intervene with exactly this, what you, Bernhard, just mentioned, is exactly what I wanted to say. The main thing that it's becoming more and more notable also in our discussion today is actually the fact that industry and academia are two different worlds. They have different motivations to start with. And me coming from the academia, I see many of my colleagues interested only in their scientific publications, the journals where they publish their articles, meaning research driven for the knowledge itself. And there is this perception in academia, for example, about the ivory tower of academia, where the knowledge and the research is the main aim of the whole sphere. And therefore it is reasonable that there is lack of trust between industry, because industry has a totally different motivation. We like to joke a little bit around that they are speaking a different language, but in fact, they do speak a different language. So therefore, the role of the TTO as the mediator or as the bridge between both spheres is actually very much at place. And also the comment you made before is also very much at place with the respect on what is supposed to be the education of the people working in the TTO, because the people who are working in the TTO have to understand both spheres actually, to know what is the motivation of each and to know how to navigate through these different motivations. So it's yeah, an interesting mess we have here in the field.
I don't want to speak too much about Phoebe and other such projects, but I think that's the main reason why the European Union likes to fund such activities. I think the point with everybody talking about entrepreneurship is not that everybody or each of us has to found a new company now. No, I think it's very important to have a basic understanding of entrepreneurial approaches about innovation management, like Paul just presented it to us. We should have seen that, just as we know how to calculate one and one. Yeah, as a scientist or researcher, it's, I think, also important to know at least that you have to file a patent before you do the publication. This is the ABC of a researcher nowadays. When I started at BOKU in 2004, the people thought, oh, you can only do that or that, and they were afraid of patents, and they were afraid of all these rules, and oh, I have to do a contract. No, that's too difficult for me. I do it on my own. And some of them, they only started to cooperate with companies because they realized they don't get enough funding anymore from public resources. Yeah? Therefore, I think a young researcher has to be trained also in entrepreneurial or entrepreneurial knowledge and in innovation management. But then I think it's okay if he focuses or falls more into his science. And I always said to my successful researchers, I don't want you to become the boss of a spin-off. Yeah. After these people decided with 30 to go this scientific career, they are crazy for scientific things. They go into the last detail. I think such guys are not, sometimes they are also good CEOs, but most of the guys I met, they don't want to become CEOs. Yeah. Maybe they want to have a card, a business card, where they saying something like this, but actually they don't want to do this bullshit work in calculation and so on. Therefore, it's okay if they don't care about innovation cycles, yeah. But of course, they should have learned it as they learned to write and to calculate one and one.
Thanks. As this maybe leads me also to another question to Mr. Kerr, because you also told us that it's really important to have some background and some experience in entrepreneurship and innovation. So actually, is it possible to be a young technology transfer officer just by learning the basic skills at the university, or is it actually more important to have a first career in research or industry and then starting a career in as a technology officer? I think you are muted.
I think I was the last director of a TTO in Austria, or in a university TTO, without a PhD. And maybe that was also in some ways a bit a limit, but just due to the rules or the game rules, I think I always look for people without a PhD. I don't want to be impolite to some PhDs maybe here. I preferred people without a PhD because they are already, yes, at least some of them. At the end, I had one PhD in my team, yeah, Verena. Yeah, and she has done a very good job. Yeah, but some of them are already too much into this focused science. Yeah, and I needed, especially in a small team, you need people who talk to people, who have the big picture, who are fascinated of physics as well on agronomy or satellite pictures, and then it's not good to have a guy with a teaching license and so on. Yeah, although there are of course guys like this. Therefore, of course, it's difficult to start as a fresher without a team today, nowadays. I started in 99 beyond a professor who was really crazy and who has founded also 2 companies, and then I had a nice colleague, and we just learned it by everyday work. Now, of course, you need also a mentor in this, but there are enough mentors everywhere. There are training courses, but you don't need a professorship to make good tech transfer support.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Maybe there are other questions from the audience.
Maybe I would make another comment. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have been working a lot together with the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and we have had a lot of discussions about how patenting is moving westwards and through also the Atlantic Ocean, and that many European companies find these fine dimensions that we see here on the screen, especially organization and culture, maybe enabling factors a little bit slow in Europe. And EIT has had experiences with startups and innovation moving to the US, and kind of like they considered it really a loss. And so what I'm seeing here is maybe a lack of wide-scale cooperation of European level, and we have big countries like the US and China coming up with lots of patents, and we seem to kind of losing this innovation power. And the number of patents would also show that. So it's and it also converts into business power. So it's Silicon Valley is getting super strong. So I'm really just thinking how to create this environment, enabling an environment that would create really strong innovations and patents that would be converting into business reality and economic power at European level. Maybe it's kind of a too high scale question, but this is what I keep seeing in everyday practice, that we have some innovations that we maybe patent it, or a company moves to UK or especially to the US. This is what we see also in Hungary, and somehow we lose this. And as I mentioned, in EIT Health is also EIT is also experiencing this phenomenon. So what do you think should be done, or we could be doing at this level?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit difficult to respond to this question by just a single sentence, but I think what we discovered at our project level is that training and education is an important aspect. So I mean, explaining what innovation is about, what patenting is about, is something that should be done in school, at university, and it's even my case. I graduated 10, 15 years ago, and actually I had no course about innovation during my 15 years at school. I could decide during my master's degree to select a course on innovation, but it was not offered as an obligatory course. So I think an important aspect for me to really foster innovation is first to enable people to understand what it's about, what are the stakes, and how important it is actually for economy, for the growth of Europe. And I'm still, let's say, a bit optimistic, because my background is actually energy. So I'm working also with a lot of energy startups in the field of hydrogen, for instance. And I still believe that in the field of hydrogen, in hydrogen production through electrolysis, in power generation, we have a small advance in these fields in Europe. So we are not lagging behind, but let's say our advance is quite small. And when you see at which rates and speed university from Southeast Asia and UK or US wide publication or fill-in patents, you notice that if you want to remain at the top of innovation, you should implement more support services, you should educate people, you should invest more money. And I think Europe is going in this way. And Europe is also what I just giving examples. There is this new research framework program, Horizon Europe, and Europe is putting much importance on exploitation of projects. So Europe, the European Commission wants that the results that are generated in European projects get to the market, or at least are further developed afterwards and get exploited by either by university, by companies, or by third parties. And I think European Commission acknowledge the importance of innovation, but I think more money should be invested to stay at the top innovation worldwide. But I would be also interested to see what other speakers here on the table think of this topic.
Tamara,
Thank you. If I may join the debate. Personally, well, I'm right now doing some research, or maybe an analysis of some research that was done a few years ago, and it considers the similar topic. It touches the cooperation of small and medium enterprises with academic supercomputing centers, and some results that we are now tracing with my colleagues are a bit worrying, in a sense that it is seen, and now I'm referring to the group of academic supercomputing centers, meaning academia, and it was detected in some of the countries of the Danube region, because the research was done in the countries of the Danube region. What the respondents named the conservatism in thinking. And the elaboration of this, what conservatism in thinking, is actually that the university professors are reluctant to even think about cooperating with industry and working for the industry on one hand, and on the other hand, the structure of the academia is created in a way that the old professors have the monopoly in the research funds that are coming into the university, meaning the younger colleagues, which could be eager to cooperate, to be more open to working with industry or for the industry, simply don't have as much access as they could. So what will have to be done here? Also, maybe the academia will have to rethink itself and its orientation, whether to stay, as I said before, as an ivory tower and locked in within their own knowledge, or maybe starting to open up a little bit. And here, of course, the support of the national states is going to be necessary, also with the legislations to permit for example, public organizations to work in a way. Now, what models could be implemented, I don't have such knowledge yet. So maybe just as a bone to chew upon.
Yeah, please go.
I fully underline what Tamara just said. I don't think that patent indicators are the problem, or the number of patents. You know, patenting costs also a lot of money, yeah, and you have to earn this money. And especially Mario Herger, a colleague of mine who studied with me in Vienna, is living now in Silicon Valley and makes tours for startups and so on. And when I met him, I don't have the impression that in Silicon Valley, patenting is the main thing, because it also takes time. Yeah, I think our problem is the time from the invention or the idea, the software, to the market in Europe. And here we are slower. And why are we slower than in the US? Because we are still too much generalists. When I started at BOKU, the professors did everything, and the administration is still done within our university by the young PhD students, because they're the cheapest ones, instead of getting more management stuff, more specialized competent stuff. Nowadays, they're, as we just learned, they are also better trained. Yeah, they're trained for innovation management or patenting or legal aspects, even if they're just engineers. And therefore, and in the US, the friends of mine who studied in Berkeley and so on, they just did research. When they started to think of membranes and how they ordered it, the professor became angry and shouted at them, and he said, "Oh, the laboratory stuff is doing the membranes. You are paid for doing research." And at BUCO and at the TU Vienna, sometimes even postdocs have to still take responsibility for things which can be done by management staff or administrative staff. Therefore, I think we have to become better, and the more you are specialized, the faster you can react, because the specialist is faster in doing the things. Yeah, it's like in the Middle Ages. At the beginning, everybody did his own shoes, and then they realized it's better that the shoes are done by a shoemaker who is every day doing shoes. Yeah, at my university, there are still older professors, mostly men, who think the PhDs has to do everything. Yeah, maybe a bit to learn, but nevertheless, there should be qualified administrative staff. And then maybe we get some more patents, but you know, I earned during the last years, I earned even more money beside patenting, with selling cell lines and all these things. You don't need, and in their business branches where patents are useless. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Okay, I mean, if not, thank you very